Okay, so, alright, the long-awaited mono-green deck. Mono-green, I mean, yeah, mono-green, boy. This was actually the last competitive deck that I really built, and actually, it started with Legacy, by the way. Believe it or not, I tried making a monocolor competitive deck for each different deck type in Legacy, initially. And this was the last deck, and at first I kind of gave up on mono green because I'm like, man, mono green, it's just kind of big Timmy smash, and like it has no interaction, and like unless it's like winning on turn 2, I mean, like how is green supposed to keep up with all this other nonsense going on? And you know what I mean? And so I'm like, well, how does a mono green deck win on turn 2? And like I basically was about to give up. And then I think I was watching something in Standard actually at the time, because I was playing Legacy, and they were playing they were explaining Infect, and then I looked it up, and apparently it was like an archetype that was being developed in Legacy as well, and Invigorate was a card there. Unfortunately, Invigorate would just like break this deck in half. That's 3 mana, instant. Target creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn. But if you control a forest, you may have an opponent gain, I think, 3 life instead of paying its mana cost. It's effectively a free +4/+4. Like, yeah, Legacy's got that. So Legacy Infect definitely has got some pretty powerful tools like that, and of course, you can splash blue and play Force of Negation and all that good stuff. But anyway, I actually mostly played mono green in Legacy, see, the thing is, actually, I kind of went on a totally different direction. Instead of playing Force of Will and all that, what I actually realized, and I'm surprised nobody else really was discussing this. I'm sure some people must be discussing this on the forums and whatnot, but I was like, hey, look at this card, crop rotation. I'm like, I think I can do stuff with this card, because I'm like, wait a minute, Sejiri Steppe, I can go give my creature protection, because I saw people using, these cards with Knight of the Reliquary. So I'm like, wait a minute, this is like an instant speed protection spell, which we need. I'm also like, wait a minute, this is also like an instant speed +2/+0 teetering peaks. It's the red version of Sejiri Steppe. It gives +2/+0 when it comes into play, and it produces red. We don't really have crop rotation in this format, so I can't exactly use Sejiri Steppe to its full potential, nor can I actually really use Teetering Peaks, although Teetering Peaks' kind of little brother is Cathedral of War, which is less explosive, but honestly kind of better in the long, for, like, it's a better, more resilient sort of pump effect. Yeah, but, basically, Infect can kill on turn 2, so this was my first competitive mono green deck, and I never really looked back. I like that it's super fast. It's weird because the idea is incredibly straightforward, but it's incredibly tricky to try to get in there and try to actually like not get blown out. So it's actually, I think, slightly trickier than it's trickier than Burn. I don't know if it's as tricky as my mono red Obosh Prowess deck, just because that deck, like, how to sequence a lot of times is quite not necessarily always obvious. But this deck is definitely tricky, and it probably is trickier even than Obosh Prowess, because the thing is, there actually aren't a lot of decisions a lot of times, but those decisions are just actually so critical, which I guess kind of sounds like what Burn players say. So I don't know what to say. I mean, the deck is definitely more tricky than Burn. I don't know how it squares up to the red deck. Definitely not as tricky as Hammer Time, but this deck is surprisingly tricky to play effectively, and you need to in order to be able to maximize it, but maximize its effectiveness. But yeah, so anyway, I ported the concept that I had for mono green, Infect from Legacy into Modern when I started playing Modern. I kind of abandoned this deck for a while, but I was thinking maybe I should, I could reinvent myself. I was wondering if I was going to go back to Infect, or if I was going to try some. I was actually kind of intrigued by that mono green aggro deck, but I just think ultimately that deck's just not as fast as Infect, and that's just going to have a harder time. I mean, it can be very fast, but I just think it's going to have a harder time overall in the meta. I could be totally wrong about that, but I'm just like, yeah, I want to see if this crazy this crazy concept that I started in Legacy and then I ported over to Modern when I started switching over from Legacy to Modern, if this was really going to bear fruit. And that concept is basically, since I don't have access to crop rotation, I use Sylvan Scrying instead. And Sylvan Scrying is definitely a little clunkier than crop rotation, but on the other hand, if it gets countered, you also don't sacrifice a land in the process. Although, to be honest, crop rotation would be way, way better if they printed that, because I'm telling you, since most of the time we're using this to find Inkmoth Nexus anyway, which I was also using in Legacy with crop rotation, you know, but the other side, like, I mean, it was using probably 60 to 70% for Inkmoth Nexus, but that other 30 to 40% where you grab Sejiri Steppe or Teetering Peaks actually comes up more than you'd think, and it was really critical. But like, in this deck, we're probably fetching Inkmoth Nexus probably 75 or 80% of the time, but, I mean, the fact of the matter is just more Inkmoth Nexi are good, and, you know, I mean, the reality is, you know, crop rotation is still probably better, because if they counter your ability to get an Inkmoth Nexus and you don't have an Inkmoth Nexus, a lot of times you just kind of dirtle around, so, you know, why not just be able to play fetch for it for 1 mana at instant speed without having to use a land drop. But since we don't have access to crop rotation, which I think would shoot this deck through the roof, especially if they added Invigorate. Man, if they added Invigorate and crop rotation to this, then I'd just be going nuts, in my opinion. I don't know if I don't know if it would necessarily be like tier 1 or anything. I think it would be, but, you know, they're never going to do that. I don't know exactly if crop rotation would bust other archetypes or not. In Legacy, it can be problematic because, like, Gaia's Cradle and stuff, but they allow it. In Modern, I guess they've got I got Nykthos. I'm not really quite sure what else you can do to break crop rotation. I mean, if Gaia's Cradle is okay in Legacy, I mean, I don't know, does that mean Nykthos is okay in Modern? I mean, I don't know. Apples and oranges, maybe, but... Anyway, let's get to the actual deck itself. Okay, so this is basically an Infect deck, but it is mono-green. Yes, it is mono-green. Now, and unfortunately for those budget players, Ignoble Hierarch is still stupid expensive on Magic Online, so the deck isn't quite budget yet, but give it time. If the deck really does get printed to demand, and if the prices come down, you know, this overall deck actually probably is fairly budget. Ignoble Hierarch used to be expensive, but I think this came down a bit from multiple reprintings too. Yeah, at the moment it's not budget, but I could see it definitely becoming budget in the not too distant future. Yeah, so it's mono-green, in fact. So the typical blue version plays Blighted Agent. We can't, because we don't have blue. So, I mean, whatever we were to do, isn't Blighted Agent the most powerful Infect creature and one of the main reasons to play Infect, period? In my opinion, it is one of the reasons to play Infect, but it's not the only one, and no as to the question of whether or not it's the most powerful Infect creature. I say it is a close second. I don't even know if it's a close second, but it is definitely second. I think, hands down, Inkmoth Nexus is definitely the #1 best Infect creature, and I'll tell you why. It's very simple. Inkmoth Nexus is immune to most sorcery speed removal, except for, like, Vindicate, which just got printed, obviously. You know, that is a thing we've had to deal with sometimes. But it's immune to most sorcery speed removal. Field of Ruin can be an issue sometimes too, but, you know, if we got more ways to fetch it, maybe we can fetch enough. And also you can, by the way, even if they use Field of Ruin, you can activate Inkmoth Nexus if you got enough mana left over it, and then give it hexproof. But then sometimes, you know, they can respond with a removal spell. But the point is, most of the time, you get to decide when you're going to expose Inkmoth Nexus to removal. And that enables you to play a waiting game, sort of, where sometimes they like, as long as Inkmoth Nexus is one of your lands, the opponent has to respect that and keep mana open, unless they have, like, something that actually interacts with lands directly. And that's very powerful, because that allows you to set up big turns. And what's good at setting up big turns? Well, mana accelerants. Because then we can, like, play multiple pump effects and save them, and I'll get to all this goodness. But yeah, anyway, it's in my opinion, this is hands down the best Infect creature, and I think that this is kind of really what makes the deck. This is kind of what makes the deck too, but I think actually Glistener Elf might be second, actually, even over Blighted Agent. But I mean, the thing that Blue-Red, in fact, has going for it is all three, Inkmoth Nexus, Blighted Agent, and Glistener Elf, are all amazing for different reasons. But we get to play effectively 8 copies of what I think is the best Infect creature, whereas they get to play the best and the second best. And actually, I used to play Blue-Green Infect deck with Sylvan Scrying as well. I don't know, actually. I think that deck had decent success. I really don't know if that deck had more or less success. I will tell you, it definitely was not bedazzling me with such overwhelming success. It was very obvious that I was gonna go blue-green and never look back. And obviously, I haven't permanently gone blue-green. I'm probably going to be mostly mono. I was always mostly mono-green, in fact, but I did, you know, dabble in blue-green every now and then for whatever reason, because things were... I think it was basically when Affinity started becoming a bigger deal a few times. I just really like straight unblockability, because you know, they played a lot of flyers, so Inkmoth Nexus wasn't always reliable, and Apostle's Blessing was nice, but I think I played Apostle's Blessing and Blighted Agent when I played Blue-Green Infect, but like, yeah, mostly I played Mono-Green Infect. I played Mono-Green Infect when I played it, when I played Infect at all. I've just reached for Blue-Green a few times when I felt like Blighted Agent was particularly necessary in the particular meta. But yeah, I mean, so our Infect creatures are Glistener Elf, Inkmoth Nexus, which I've just went over, and Sylvan Scrying to fetch Inkmoth Nexus. I'm just going to briefly say, though, Sylvan Scrying will mostly fetch Inkmoth Nexus, but you'd be surprised. A lot of times, you can fetch a Cathedral of War, and this is a very nice land. Most of the time you're not fetching for it, you're just playing it out when you draw it. You know, but it gets to pump your creatures. Sometimes you can actually end up just, if they kill all your Infect creatures, just attacking with a lot of Exalted triggers with your 8 Hierarchs. And this kind of is like a 12th Hierarch in a way. I mean, Hierarchs 9 through 12. So yeah, this is actually a surprisingly underrated card. It allows you to attack over a lot of smaller, you know, in the early game you can push through a lot of, you know, Glistener Elf, and also allows you to make your land drops while also effectively playing spells that are going to pump your Inkmoth when you attack in a big turn. Unless you know, hopefully you get to see it in action, but it's a very solid card that I think is underrated. It's been a mainstay actually for Mono Green Infect for a long time. It's just you almost never run into Mono Green Infect. It is technically an archetype, and other people do play it. You do see it every like maybe 1 in 1,000 matches, 1 MTGO, and whenever you see Mono Green Infect, you usually see Cathedral of War, and we're no exception. We're just also playing the 8 of the Hierarchs too, so we have 12 Exalted effectively. I will say my understanding is most Mono Green Infect players are playing Mono Green Infect for budget reasons, which means they're usually not playing the Hierarchs. I am not playing Mono Green Infect for budget reasons. I am playing Mono Green Infect because I think it's better. I mean, look, I don't know. Like it's probably so close that don't let that bother you if you're a Blue-Green Infect player. The reality is nobody really knows. This is just kind of my heuristic, is that I follow the principle generally that I don't splash another color unless I think I need to. I think being monocolor is incredibly powerful, so like I basically look to if I have everything I need in a single color first. If I have everything I think I need to be successful in a single color, I just don't go to another color. It's that simple, for me at least. I do think that you know, there's a lot of advantages to being one color, other than just not losing as much life to your lands. You know, I mean, first and foremost is Blood Moon, but even aside from Blood Moon, I think being, you know, just not getting mana screwed, and believe it or not, sometimes with Blue-Green Infect, I didn't draw blue mana. I know, hard to believe, but it happens. And, yeah, anyway, suffice it to say that I like this, the concept behind this deck, and Sylvan Scrying can go get Cathedral of War, and this does happen sometimes when you're like 1 damage short, and you need to fetch up like one more pump spell. Sylvan Scrying can kind of be like a +1/+1 pump spell on a critical turn you need it. I usually wouldn't recommend, you know, fetching Cathedral of War unless it's like for a critical turn, unless you're setting up a turn and they're not playing a deck with enough removal that, like, you know, unless you feel fairly confident that you can set up for a big turn and you calculate it and you can push more total damage over like a few turns with Cathedral of War, which actually does come up more than you'd think. Yeah, and Pendelhaven, I'm playing all 4 Pendelhavens. Like, I know this is legendary land, but I mean, hear me out. It just helps push through like early Glistener Elf so much. It's a free extra pump that also helps sometimes protect against Stomp or Lava Dart, and that comes up. You know, I'm telling you, don't get cute. It's just there's a reason why a lot of Elves players play, I assume, more than 2, but you know, because I do see it a lot in their deck. Maybe they just play 2. I highly doubt they only play 1. But yeah, trust me, 4 Pendelhavens, it's usually fine. And the worst case scenario, a lot of times you can just make other land drops, and then a lot of times, like, it doesn't even matter because you don't need the extra green mana until your critical turn, and then you just tap the Pendelhaven for green for something like Scale Up or something, and then you play the other Pendelhaven, and then you have another green mana for the critical turn when you need a critical mass of green mana for pump and protection and all that good stuff. So you'd be surprised, like, even because of the new legendary rule, a lot of times Pendelhaven's downside doesn't even necessarily matter as much, because if it was like the old legendary rule, that would be a problem, where you where you have to sack both like immediately, and you don't even get to tap one of them in response. You don't even get to tap the one that's going to die in response. Just both just immediately go to the graveyard. That was a little brutal for Pendelhaven. But with the new legendary rule that you choose which one to sack, that's trust me, I've never really minded playing 4 Pendelhavens. Although there has been time. If I'm playing less than 4 Pendelhavens, it's usually because I'm trying to squeeze more other types of lands in the deck, and it's not because of an inherent problem with playing 4 Pendelhavens. I'm telling you that right now. So, Ghost Quarter, I think it's fairly obvious. This is mostly for Tron. To a lesser extent, sometimes this is for like, you know, Hammer Time. Like if they go all in an Inkmoth Nexus, you can just leave up a Ghost Quarter, and obviously they won't go all in front of a Ghost Quarter unless they have an answer. But this can deter, you know. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Excuse me. Yeah, this can deter like you know, man lands from attacking. This can deter man lands from blocking. That probably comes up more. Sometimes like opposing Inkmoth or Blinkmoth Nexuses, which more decks play than you'd think. At least Inkmoth Nexus nowadays. And yeah, not necessarily a lot of lands have flying, but yeah, I mean, the main reason, I gotta be honest, the main reason why Blood Ghost Quarter is in the main deck is just because I get to free up some extra slots for sideboard cards, and actually I think 1 copy is pretty free. You'd be surprised the number of times where I just play it. I crack it on one of my forests in play, and then I just fetch another forest, and I get 2 green mana on a critical turn. So it's kind of like, you can think of it kind of like a legendary forest in a way in that regard. But like, yeah, it has pretty clear utility, but it also you know, it also can produce green mana at least on 1 turn, because if you target your own land, you can go fetch a forest. So yeah, Ghost Quarter I think is fairly free. It's got some utility in certain matchups, but it's just mostly. I would only play 1 copy, but I think one copy and exactly 1 copy is pretty free in this deck. And you can of course, you know, tutor it up with Sylvan Scrying. That takes us to Sejiri Steppe, and Sejiri Steppe is one of the main draws, I think, to playing the Sylvan Scrying package as opposed to reaching for like Blighted Agent, for example. I just really like this because sometimes you can set up situations where like, say you've got 2 Inkmoth Nexi, right, and they've got 1 land untapped, and you're thinking like, man, well, Sejiri Steppe, it's not like crop rotation, you can't use it at instant speed to protect your card. Like, I mean, imagine they're at like 2 Infect, and you've got like 2 Inkmoth Nexi, and you've got like 1 Cathedral of War, and you can attack with both, but like, you know, but they're at 2 life, so like if you attack with 1, they can Fatal Push that 1. If you attack with 2, they can, you know, they can Fatal Push 1, and then the other one gets through, but they live at 9 poison counters. So you're probably thinking, well, how does Sejiri Steppe help you in this situation where you can attack with 2 Inkmoth Nexus and you got 1 Exalted trigger, and they've got 1 black mana open, and you know they got Fatal Push? Actually, think a little bit deeper, and here's how it helps. Okay, you activate your first Inkmoth Nexus, preferably with Cathedral of War because that produces colorless. You play Sejiri Steppe. Now what do? Right? You know you're going to name black, but if they Fatal Push, then you just, you know, you can even use that Inkmoth Nexus to activate the other Inkmoth Nexus, and then you attack and you get Exalted and then you win. So you see what I mean? But if they just let it go, you just attack with that one and they can't target it. But if they target it, you just activate the other Inkmoth Nexus. And I mean, and also obviously sometimes they've got like a bunch of so you'd be surprised how often this happens. You've only got a Glistener Elf in play. For whatever reason, like, it's stalled out. They feel fairly comfortable. They flood the table with like a bunch of threats of either of 1 color, or like they attack with the only other creature of another color, which, you know, you can't always count on that happening, but sometimes it does happen. But yeah, like, you'd be surprised how often they have like a whole wall of blockers that are all the same color, and they tap out because they know you can't get an instant speed Inkmoth Nexus. And they incorrectly think that you can't suddenly make your creature unblockable, at least in any kind of mana-efficient way. And then, boom, you either play Sejiri Steppe from hand if you've got it, or you play Sylvan Scrying and tutor it up and play it, and sometimes you can just scale up or something, and then suddenly, boom, you just crash through with that innocuous-looking Glistener Elf suddenly just wins the game out of nowhere. So, yeah, you'd be surprised. This card actually has more utility than you think. It doesn't always come up, probably only comes up about 15 to 20% of the time, but maybe even less, probably only 10 to 15% of the time, but like, hey, when it does come up, no other land does what this land does. This was a holdover from Legacy that I used to love to play, and I'm not giving this up anytime soon. I'm just not. You can't make me. I love it. And yeah, and so Glistener Elf, and I think it's pretty obvious why we play it. It's our fastest Infect creature, and it is worth noting that we can get some turn 2 kills. We can scale up our Glistener Elf and then Might of Old Krosa for exactly 10 Infect, or 10 poison counters. That doesn't come up a lot though, because obviously if they've got a single blocker, they're going to block, and if they got a land untapped, a lot of times it's kind of incredibly dangerous to attack, unless that land is like forest or something. They could still have Dismember, but you know, I'd probably go for it there. But if it's like white, black, or red, I would definitely. And nowadays, a lot of people are playing Suspend for some unknown reason. Even blue is not necessarily safe, although I think eventually a lot of these decks that are playing Suspend are probably not going to play it anymore, because it's always been fairly mediocre. I've never had it played against me in Infect, but against all my other decks it's been very mediocre. Yeah, so Inkmoth Nexus, I mean, Glistener Elf is just, you know, pretty obvious why that's in the deck. It just, you can sometimes, the thing is, not always will you be able to kill on turn 2, but a lot of times you can either push early Infect damage while their guard is down, and then that makes it easier for Inkmoth Nexus later, if you pushed early damage, or sometimes you can also exhaust some of their early removal, or put their plan a little bit off kilter, because they usually have to respect the Glistener Elf on turn 1, and usually I recommend, if you've got Glistener Elf in your opening hand, even if you've also got Noble Hierarch or Ignoble Hierarch, you usually lead on the Glistener Elf, because other than that Sejiri Steppe example I gave earlier, which, you know, does show that you always have to respect the Glistener Elf if you're the opponent. The reality is in a lot of games that may not necessarily come up with the Sejiri Steppe example I gave, and a lot of times if the game drags on, Glistener Elf kind of becomes just like a chump blocker, unfortunately. So, you know, it loses its value fairly quickly. It obviously leads to some of the most explosive and busted starts available. It's one of the few decks that can win on turn 2, and not necessarily incredibly rarely. Yeah. Noble Hierarch is great too, but unlike Glistener Elf, Noble Hierarch is basically always live, and it's even always live if you're gonna beat down with Jegantha, which I'll get to in a bit. Yeah, so I usually lead on Glistener Elf, and that leads us to the 8 Hierarchs. I mean, I don't know what to say other than that they're mana dorks. They're also pump spells. Yeah, I mean, cards are good. If you ever played with a Noble Hierarch in Infect, you know it's good. I'm telling you, playing 4 more copies, it's also good. I don't know, kind of enough said, right? Like, it's you know, I mean, we're not even playing like blue, so the extra colors on Ignoble Hierarch, that doesn't make a difference at all. It's basically the same thing, and it's every bit as good as Noble Hierarch, which is amazing. Yeah, I don't know what to say other than that this deck is surprisingly mana hungry, and a lot of times you need a lot of mana to activate Inkmoth Nexus and lots of stuff, and you know, just being able to make more mana, and also just, yeah, I mean, also like have your creatures get bigger with the attack. I don't know what else to say other than that. It's very deceptively good, but it's good. You know, and of course scale up Might of Krosa. These are my dedicated pump spells. I kind of bit the bullet. For a while I was thinking I'd futz around a bit with pump spells that had more utility, like maybe Groundswell, like maybe you know, Mutagenic Growth I liked because it was free and I could sometimes catch opponents off guard and save my stuff from Stomp, and like, yeah. But at the end of the day, I think just having basically the most consistent, the most powerful pump spells that were printed, which also combo together nicely for a turn 2 kill with Glistener Elf, but are also just pretty, you know, good in and of themselves. Just being able to push a lot of Infect damage, even if you're not killing all in one turn, being able to push a lot if their guard is down, it's very, very good. I don't know what else to say. I think everybody knows scale up is great at this point. I'm still, you know, I still kind of like, so there's something to be desired for it being sorcery speed, in my opinion, but, you know, I've been liking it so far, and I've definitely been liking the occasional turn 2 that I can pull off when it combines with Might of Old Krosa. It is worth noting, if you're playing Mutagenic Growth, you basically always have the possibility of a turn 2 kill, but it usually involves like 3 or 4 Mutagenic Growths, so that's not always reliable. Or if you've got like Groundswell or something in mutagenic growth, then you like can always play Mitre Old Krosa, mutagenic growth, and Groundswell. But that's like a 3-card combo, and I don't really want to play more than 8 dedicated pump spells because because like at that point you're a little bit too vulnerable if they kill your only infect creature. Then like you're stuck with a bunch of cards that don't really do much, except for that side plan that I'll get to in just 1 second. But then that leads to the protection pump spells, and everybody knows Vines of Vastwood and Blossoming Defense, very standard staples for Infect. Yeah, they pump, they protect. I don't know what else to say. You really need these because there's a lot of decks that don't play red-based removal, so you can't necessarily count on just a pure pump to save your creatures. You know, Fatal Push, Path to Exile, all that stuff, and these cards help with that. So in they go. It is worth noting that Vines of Vastwood also has the ability to make their creatures untargetable by them. And there's probably other instances where this comes up, but you know, Twin, back when that was legal, this used to be a way you could disrupt that combo. But right now, probably the most relevant deck that's affected by this is probably Hammer Time. So much so that I haven't really played that matchup much, but I suspect, and I don't think I've certainly seen Vines of Vastwood when I've played it. I think I won the only times I've played so far. There was, anyway. But Vines of Vastwood basically prevents either their hammer from equipping or from Sigarda's Aid, targeting it and putting and attaching, because it makes it not able to be targeted by spells or abilities, including Sigarda's Aid. So, yeah. So basically, you get to counter the Colossus Hammer effect, whether it's being equipped or used through Sigarda's Aid. I think that might even be kind of like a mirror breaker, possibly, because Hammer Time is kind of like Infect in many ways. Yeah, anyway, that's that. Apostle's Blessing, this card is excellent, and it's basically, this card is the closest thing to that crop rotation instant speed Sejiri Steppe we got. It is actually better because protection from artifacts, especially now that affinities become a thing again. I wish it said colorless instead of artifacts, but I guess it's an old templating. We didn't really have colorless cards that weren't artifacts when this was printed, that I'm aware of. So, yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't really push damage with Eldrazi, but it does do really well a lot of times because, first and foremost, actually, it's a protection spell that you can use your colorless lands on, and a lot of times that does help smooth your mana, because you do have a lot of brown mana, so to speak. And just the other thing is, again, it just makes Glistener Elf a lot more viable, because you can push damage sometimes when they let their guard down. You can also push damage with Inkmoth over like flying colored creatures like Bitter Blossom sometimes. Yeah, Apostle's Blessing is a little trickier because it doesn't pump itself, so I think people don't automatically realize how good it is. But I wouldn't leave home without it. I think, especially in mono green, in fact, where we don't have natural unblockability like what's that card called? Blighted Agent. I think Apostle's Blessing is invaluable. Okay, sideboard. Yeah, sideboard we have Wilt. This card, it's basically just destroy target artifact or enchantment cycling too. I was actually playing Naturalize for a little while. You could play something like Deglamour to shuffle their card into the library, but I don't like Deglamour because a lot of times you're going to be bringing these in against Stoneforge Mystic type decks. Not always because necessarily you're worried about the equipment they play, although sometimes, mostly all of the Skyclaves can be a problem given their creatures flying, but anyway, but also because sometimes they play Bitter Blossom. I don't know if all of them do, but some of them do. You definitely have to answer Bitter Blossom. That card is a big, big problem because it really, really blanks Exalted. And this deck is 12 Exalted, but anyway. Yeah, I was playing Naturalize for a while. I think it's better because you don't want to be... sometimes you do target equipment like Maul the Skyclaves, and you don't want that shuffled back in where another Stoneforge can just go fetch it again. You just want it flat destroyed. So I was playing Naturalize, and then I realized, oh yeah, like mono green Tron, why can't I play Wilt? Isn't that just strictly better? It is just strictly better. So it's basically a Naturalize with cycling. Enough said. That actually does make it a lot better, though. A lot better. Because you can side this in more aggressively, even when you're not sure they necessarily have a problematic card. And one of them, of course, is Blood Moon. Be very, very concerned about Blood Moon. Blood Moon doesn't make it impossible to win, but it definitely it definitely probably improves their chances like tenfold that they're going to win, because Inkmoth Nexus, like I said, is their strongest Infect creature, and they shut it completely off, and then essentially are trying to win with Glistener Elf or Jegantha. Yeah, I mean, I guess we have to talk about this now, but yeah, I know Jegantha seems it's completely a useless, wasted sideboard slot, but you know, it does actually come up sometimes. Sometimes you do actually win with Jegantha, and the way that happens is sometimes they keep an incredibly controlling. Excuse me. Sometimes they keep an incredibly controlling hand without much of like a finisher of their own. And sometimes, I mean, their fatal pushes, their abrupt decays, whatever. I mean, whatever it is they're playing. Sometimes whatever it is they're playing can't necessarily hit Jegantha. Sometimes they just exhaust their removal. They kept a very control-y hand without a win con necessarily. They deal with all your creatures, and then sometimes you just drop a 5/5, mostly vanilla beater, which also is a mana dork, by the way. And in a mana-hungry deck like this, sometimes even a 5-mana mana dork is not that bad. Unfortunately, you don't get all 5 colors of mana, unless you want to use Apostle's Blessing, but yeah, because you can't use the mana for generic, unfortunately. Yeah, most of the time it's just kind of a mana dork for 1 mana, but sometimes that can be valuable. But yeah, mostly it's just to be a vanilla 5/5 beater. It's completely free in this deck. I don't really foresee necessarily, certainly in the main deck, ever playing anything with double colored costs. Except maybe for Dismember, but I don't think I've usually main deck Dismember, just because I want to be more streamlined with the combo. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, it's just basically completely free because none of these cards cost more, have a double symbol mana cost on their cost, and yeah, there you go. Sometimes you just have a big giant body late in the game as just like a final backup plan, and hey, I'll take it. I don't know what else to say other than I'll take it. It's not always going to come up, but hey, it's better. It's better than nothing. And some people used to play like Tarmogoyf or Kitchen Finch or something on the sideboard. How about just play Jegantha and just, you know, sometimes that kind of does what that concept's trying to do. Anyway, then we have Spatial Contortion, and this card might seem weird, and I'm going to say right up front that I acknowledge and I am aware, and I was made aware of it, and I wasn't originally aware of it, but this card has a big downside, which is that you have to hold up your colorless sources against Magus of the Moon. Once Magus of the Moon hits, it shuts off this card, and then effectively you can't deal with Magus of the Moon for the rest of the game. I will admit that is a big problem, and if Magus of the Moon starts seeing a lot more play, then Dismember is probably going to be where you want to be. I prefer this card, though, unless Magus of the Moon is the creature of choice. Honestly, the main creature I'm afraid of, to be honest, is Plague Engineer. I mean, because like even Magus of the Moon, you can still try to cobble a win together with Glistener Elf. I mean, in a way, maybe even Jegantha, but Plague Engineer is actually, I didn't realize this, but it's actually a very, very big problem for the deck. So much so that I think this deck might be a little too easy to hate out, and we might want to have our fun while it lasts. I don't think that this deck's ever going to catch on that much because there's a lot of inherent weaknesses, and this deck is kind of relies on catching people off guard in a way. But like, yeah, one of those problems is Plague Engineer. I don't know why they did this, but they changed all the creature types from I think this used to just be Elf Warrior, and this used to be just a Blinkmoth artifact. But I think they for some reason they changed all the creature types to Phyrexian as well. So somebody named Phyrexian against me with Plague Engineer, and I was just like, well, I guess that's basically GG. And then I think I even tried fetching Jegantha, and I'm like, well, shoot, man, this thing's got Death Touch. And then I think they played a second Plague Engineer, and I'm just like, well, how am I supposed to beat this? I mean, I need like multiple Apostle's Blessing. I need them to have 0 removal. It's just, yeah. The main reason I play Spatial Contortion is basically Plague Engineer. I mean, sometimes you can slow down, like, is it prowess? I think it's correct to side out Apostle's Blessing for Spatial Contortion, and is it prowess just as a speed bump, because it's a little bit of a race. They're one of the fastest. They're one of the only decks that sometimes can outrace you. So yeah, Spatial Contortion can be good there, but kind of the conceptual reason why I like Spatial Contortion instead of Dismember, if I can. And again, there will be times probably where we may have to reach for Dismember again, but unless like Magus of the Moon becomes the de facto Moon card that we see all over the place. you know, and we see it a lot. I do conceptually like Spatial Contortion more than other removal options, including Dismember, and the reason why is very simple. Because this is a pump spell in addition to a removal spell. Most people use it for the -3 toughness, but there are some occasions, it hasn't come up yet, but I was aware of it, and I was calculating whether or not this gave me a kill. And trust me, it'll come up where sometimes this will allow you to push through lethal damage, because you're going to remind yourself, oh no, it did actually happen once. I don't think it was recorded, but I think it did happen where I'm like, yep, I got lethal because I counted Spatial Contortion, and that pushed me into lethal range. I mean, it doesn't always come up, but the fact that this does double duty and it's not just a removal spell, that I really conceptually like that. I mean, I'm a sucker for cards that just tickle me on a conceptual level. I don't know what to say. I mean, and I've played it. It's actually fully supportable with 11 main deck colorless lands, Inkmoth Nexus, Cathedral of War, Ghost Quarter, and ways to fetch them. And you're going to be fetching Inkmoth a lot, so it's actually kind of more like 13 colorless sources. 4 Cathedrals, 4 Inkmoth, effectively another 4 Inkmoths, so that's 12, plus Ghost Quarter, that's 13. So, and you can even side in Grasping Dunes if you want even more colorless sources, for a total of effectively 14 colorless sources. So trust me, and obviously this isn't in the main deck, so if you really want it that badly, you definitely can have access to 14 colorless sources, and that's the same amount of untapped green sources that aren't Ghost Quarter we basically have in the main deck. And trust me, 14 untapped green sources, it's fine. Every once in a while it's a problem, but same thing with the colorless sources. You're going to have colorless lands, so Spatial Contortion we can support. It just really tickles my fancy on a conceptual level that it's also a pump spell. I love it. I've played it. You don't have to lose life with it too, which is nice. It works. I don't know what to say other than it works as advertised. Okay, it works as advertised. It's not bad. This deck can support it, so I don't know. I like it. I don't know what to say. Oh yeah, and it doesn't conflict with Jegantha. That's not a huge reason. I'd still play Dismember if Mages of the Moon was absolutely ubiquitous in the format. But it is just nice that it also doesn't conflict with Jegantha, for what it's worth. Again, doesn't count for that much, but it does matter. I mean, it does matter a little bit. Yeah, and then that takes us to, Relic of Progenitus. We all know this. I don't think I need to explain it more. One could make an argument that maybe we want to play Lantern of Soul Guide Lantern, because we may not necessarily want to try to control Tarmogoyf and do other things with Relic. But here's the thing I like about this more than Soul Guide Lantern, because there are a lot of control decks playing Drown in the Loch, and I just kind of like the idea of this being possibly another protection spell from Drown in the Loch, and in a way from Snapcaster Mage in control, and I just don't think you can really justify that with Soul Guide Lantern. I don't know if that's going to come up much. I honestly don't side in Graveyard Hate that much, period. I do need some help against Dredge, and I think this is good. I don't know what else to say. Honestly, though, Dredge may need to respect us more than we need to respect them, because with just Narcomoebas, sometimes we can just get them on turn 2. Most of their creatures don't block until they start dumping Narcomoebas into play. Even with Narcomoeba, that's basically their only colored flyer for most of the game until they start hard casting Instinct Lead Imps, so sometimes Sejiri Steppe just instantly clears the board of blockers. So you can just get through. Apostle's Blessing, same thing. My memory is I didn't have a particular hard time with Dredge, but then again, that was the Dredge decks of yore that didn't have Creeping Chill. Honestly, Creeping Chill isn't as big of a deal because we don't care about the life, although it does cause us to lose life, but I don't know. I don't know, I really liked Relic in decks that could support it, so I'm still trying it. I like the way that this is good against Drown in the Loch, so yeah, I don't know. Grasping Dunes, I side this in a few times. I don't think I've ever actually used its ability, except for, I think, just a couple occasions where I think I snagged a Flicker Wisp. I think I used it defensively because that was kind of pestering me. The reason why this is in here is just because I kind of like the idea of having some type of land that can interact with creatures in some way. Sure, I've got my Spatial Contortions, but I may not always necessarily want to bring in 4 dedicated slots. Sometimes I may want to just bring in a tutor target. It's not the most powerful creature removal type effect, but it does clear some flyers, like I said, like like Flicker Wisp. It does deal with some of those like Inkmoth Nexus, opposing Inkmoth Nexus, and other 1/1 flyer creatures that they might play, Thopters or something. I don't know. It comes up, you know, when you see something with 1 toughness that's a flyer basically. There's a possibility that Grasping Dunes might help you push damage with Inkmoth Nexus. It maybe came up once, like I said, against Flicker Wisp. I don't know. I don't know what to say other than that. I think it's pretty free, and also it's also just another colorless source if you really want to make sure you have your 14 colorless sources for Spatial Contortion, so you never really get screwed off of being able to play that. I guess that's kind of nice too, an option to have. Some matchups also Sejiri Steppe is just really not that great. And having a land that comes into play tapped, even if it doesn't produce a color, is probably superior to one that does come into play tapped. And that leaves us Bojuka Bog. I mean, this is a simple card. It just comes into play and wipes the graveyard. And yeah, I mean against like Dredge, for example, I get to play 4 relics and Bojuka Bog, where I have 4 cards to tutor up for it. Like I said, a lot of times against Dredge, in my experience from back of yore, I haven't played it a lot recently, certainly since I picked this deck up again. But my memory was that Dredge kind of had to respect our combo more than we did theirs. But you know, it is available to you, and sometimes they just go nuts and they dump their whole graveyard to the whole library into their graveyard, and then they say go, and then like you don't necessarily have to kill next turn, and you're like, oh, what do I do? And then sometimes you're like, oh, Bojuka Bog, and then they scoop. You know, it happened. It did happen to me before. Also with that new Feasting Troll King combo thing and stuff, sometimes you want to just grab Bojuka Bog and just slice that thing out of there. Although my experience, very limited, but it has been more recent, is also that the Feasting Troll King deck, yeah, whatever they call it, the cookbook combo deck, the green-black one specifically. My experience so far has actually been, and this might be one reason to play Infect, is I felt like I've done fairly well. There was one deck splashing red and playing like, I don't really want to say, there was one deck that I wasn't as sure I had a good matchup against, but that the standard, I think, black-green version, I think we actually have a good matchup, because so far my experience has been, I mean, like the life from the food just doesn't matter, and they don't seem to play a ton of removal, they don't play a ton of flyers. So, like, honestly, a lot of times they got their Feasting Troll King or even 2 out, and I just won with Inkmoth Nexus next turn. So, you know, we may not necessarily need Bojuka Bog, and it is kind of funny that a lot of these, like, graveyard decks arguably are kind of good matchups anyway. But, I don't know, just on a conceptual level, I just like a land I can reach for that interacts with the graveyard, and there it is. It's worth noting that there are some alternative land options we could play as tutor targets. We could also play, like, a 1 of Vesuva to double up on like Bojuka Bog effects, or double up on Sejiri Steppe. I played Vesuva in the Legacy crop rotation version. Absolutely necessary in my opinion, but then again, you know, you're using Sejiri Steppe a lot more in Legacy because you can use it as an instant speed. You know, when you play 1 mana for crop rotation, sack a land, put Sejiri Steppe into play as an instant, or Teetering Peaks, you know, 2/1 instant speed land. I mean, it's not a land, it's instant speed, but you can put it into play instant speed off of crop rotation. So you know. Yeah, in Legacy, Vesuva is an absolute house, being able to double up on your. It's a little vulnerable to Wasteland sometimes. If they got an untapped Wasteland, don't go for Vesuva. Try to copy one of your other utility lands, but they don't always do that. And a lot of times, the Wastelands were hitting Inkmoth Nexus like immediately. And I think that's one reason why I played crop rotation, is my Inkmoth Nexus were always getting wastelanded, that I'm like, well, I don't know, what if I just could like overload the wastelands and play more? And I'm like, well, that's one reason, you know. Anyway, yeah, so I think that's basically as much I can say about the deck. I mean, geez, I've been talking for a while, so yeah, Bojuka Bog. Just a little extra way to interact with the graveyard. I'm not necessarily reaching for Vesuva this time, just because the vast majority of the time I don't even search for 1 Sejiri Steppe, let alone 2. I don't necessarily search for 1 Ghost Quarter, let alone 2. Just this corner cases. These are mostly corner case cards too, so I don't see the reason to double up on a corner case card. You know, in Modern that is, as opposed to Legacy. So yeah. Anyway, if you like this content, like and subscribe. Stay tuned for the gameplay vids. Let's see if we can spread if we can get down with the sickness, I guess, as Nickelback or whatever it was said. All right. Let's see. Alright, match 1. Well, you know, I really want to try. I'm really looking forward to this. Let's see how this goes. And I am also very curious how much Might of Old Krosa only being a +4/+4 on my main phase is gonna hurt me. Because in the past I played Groundswell, but the problem is I really don't want to have to play fetches if I don't have to. That really can be kind of a damper. Let's see. And I guess I don't need to play fetches, but still. Yeah, let's lead on Cathedral. I mean, sometimes I've just got so many lands that I'm constantly landing land drops, but then other times not as much. It all depends. Let's see, do we play Glistener Elf? Problem is, I don't really see Glistener Elf getting in at all. That's the problem. But, I don't know. I'm going to follow the principle that you got to play Glistener Elf early, because that's his best chance of doing something. I mean, I can't crash in for 3, so there's that. Alrighty. Features Supplier. That's the kind of card that likes to block. And they always seem to have this card in their hand whenever they artifact or battlefield and return it to your hand. At least the life gain from the food isn't much of a concern for us, but still. So at least we can attack with relative impunity. Oh, wait, what happened? Did it? Oh, it already. Okay. It's got the Feasting King. See, this is where if we had main deck Bojuka Bog, this could have helped out. But this card also doesn't have reach, so I don't know if it really concerns us that much. I want a Sylvan Scrying, but the question is Sylvan Scrying for what? Let's just get Inkmoth Nexus. Disguise the fact that we have another Inkmoth Nexus in our hand. Probably should have gotten Sejiri Steppe, actually, but I don't know. Because they play Gilded Goose or something, and then immediately, Houston, we have problems. I should have got Sejiri Steppe. That's one of the whole reasons to be playing Sylvan Scrying in the first place. You get to play one of that card. Let's see. Oh, Cold and Familiar is not a flyer, so that's good. So we can try for the double Vines of Vastwood over 2 different turns. Yeah, or just Vines plus. But if we do 3 this turn, problem with that is we can't use Vines as a protection spell. Yeah, I think we're going to Vines for 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, and then next turn we are threatening lethal with my bad, folks. I forgot that I needed to play the Pendelhaven. It happens, I guess. Okay. Would have been much better to play Cathedral of War if this was my play, but we shall see. Yeah, I wanted to hit them for. I wanted to put them at 6 poison. I needed a green mana. Or I needed to play Cathedral of War. Okay, let's see. Light of Old Krosa. Oof. Is this gonna do it? Well, I definitely know one thing. I need to play a green mana. This, let's see, what if I give this 2, 3? Doesn't make a difference. Let's see, 4, 5, 6. It's just not gonna do it. Six is very easy to generate, but beyond that, that's difficult. Well, maybe I can block the as a whatever can. Is there another feasting, whatever it is in here? I think so. There's no point in getting life. Okay. That's fine. I guess, I mean, we still got the Inkmoth Nexus. The problem is the familiar is gonna keep coming back with the food token, and I don't know. Alright, well, that was just a little clunky. I think they have to respect our combo more than we have to respect theirs, though, believe it or not. Even though they won that, it kind of felt like I had an incredibly unusually clunky hand. They had a little clunky hand, but I think the fact that we were pretty close to a victory, despite the fact that our hand was really clunky, suggests to me maybe it's actually them who needs to be more afraid of us, so we'll see. They are probably bringing stuff in. And what are they bringing in? That could be... Well, I'll tell you what's a very low opportunity cost. Playing 1 Bojuka Bog. That's blue. very low opportunity cost. It's just Ghost Quarter is all around pretty free. Alright, let's see. Hopefully they're not bringing in Plague Engineer. I just auto-lose to that card. I mean, I guess I have Jegantha, but that's about it. Alright, well, we've got the Glistener Elf, and maybe that's good enough. We got Sejiri Steppe to hopefully also help push through damage. I probably should have played Pendelhaven first, but whatever. It does actually matter, because, for example, I might play Cathedral next turn, and I might be able to squeeze more damage, so you always want to lead on Pendelhaven. Yeah, or they decided in Fatal Push, so it doesn't matter. Alright, well. We're ramping. Yeah, so Ignoble Hierarch. They're going surprisingly, yeah, I guess, you see, they are afraid more of us than we are of them. They're going very interactive in games 2 and 3, which means hopefully they're slowing themselves down without us needing to bring in hate. It's happening, folks. I'm putting Jegantha in the hand, and I fully intend on playing it. Hopefully they don't have much more. I mean, you never know. Maybe we get to score another game with Jegantha actually winning. We can only hope. Okay. Let's just play Jegantha first. I mean, they know we've got it, and just in case they remove our Ignoble Hierarch to take us down mana or something. And that's a surprising amount of Exalted triggers. They're looking for the monster thing. Okay, not yet. Hopefully they don't have a blocker for Jegantha. Okay, that's a good sign. I mean, we're playing Jegantha, and they're playing their 4-2 combo enabler thingy. The problem is, man, this thing keeps coming back to its hand. That's the thing I hate. This is kind of a combo in a way, isn't it? Because they can keep Witch's Ovening, sacrificing it. It returns to their hand. Well, whatever. I'll make my land drop, and I'll at least get some decent damage in here. Take this, huh? Oh, black. Take, what is it, 8 damage? 8 and 8 makes 16. I wanna win with Jegantha. I wanna do it. I just like doing it this way, because this way I get to make my land drop, while also pushing damage. Whereas this way I'd have to, like, spend a card. Just, yeah. The problem is, though, is that the food is live now as far as helping them live. On the other hand, it does cost a lot of mana for them to do it. Let's see if they play that card again. If so, we might just win. Yeah. If we draw any pump spell, we just win. Alright. Protection from black. Protection from black. Bam. Can't block. Unless I'm missing something, I think this is GG. We won with Jegantha. See, to all those doubters who said, why is Jegantha there? It's never going to do anything. Well, you know, how do we win that without Jegantha? Alright, anyway, let's see. Alright, sideboarding. Do I want to change anything? I don't think so. I still like having access to the one of Bojuka Bog in the board. I don't see myself needing Ghost Quarter or Gasping Dunes. Gasping Dunes, I mean, maybe could deal with the familiar, but no, actually, because it'll keep coming back. Alright, let's run it back. See, there's different types of graveyard decks. Some graveyard decks you need full-on Relic, and some graveyard decks you just need a Bojuka Bog. Alright. Well, the heuristic is, if we've got mana and we've got an infect creature, we generally keep. We shall see if this will. And this is also kind of going to be a place where maybe Might of Old Krosa proves itself. Alright, well, there goes our infect creature. Maybe it's Jegantha beatdown plan again. I mean, like, it's just so free, you know? It's just so free. And, no kidding, we might actually seriously be on that. Where's this frickin' Saga? Okay, so play this. We can still push a lot of damage, actually. Alrighty. Which is oven. Alright, well, I'm going to keep attacking. Or maybe not, actually, because I could play Glistener Elf and then also put Jegantha to hand. Nah, but I'll just keep attacking. Because ideally I want them to eventually block. Yeah. I don't know, we just drew Glistener Elf. Ooh, it's the Feasting Troll King. Man, surprisingly I'm playing like the one deck though that's actually not that concerned about it. Actually, we've got the combo in hand, actually, so if they don't have removal for the Glistener Elf, then I think we've got it. We can even give protection from artifacts and from green. But pro tip, and I'm going to remember this, and I believe me, I've got ring rust. In a previous test league I did, I ran into this problem. You definitely need to you need to pump first, then give pro green. If you give pro green first, you can't target your Glistener Elf. So I have to give maybe pro red and pro green. I think we can do that. I don't think they have enough food to be able to both kill the Glistener Elf and maybe they do. Here's what they can play with that last mana. Actually, they let's see. They can sack 3 foods. They can bring the monster back. I don't see how they Oh, if it's a toughness 4 greater, create 2 food tokens. Well, that's something to be aware of, but I think I can still give pro red. Yeah, I think so here's how I do it. I scale up, Might of Old Krosa, then they have to respond, then I give pro red, and then I give pro green. And if I give pro green, and if I give pro red, well, it has 8 toughness, and I think I'm in good shape. Let's see if I have this correct. Yeah, so first we are going to scale up. First we're going to scale up. And now we give pro red because once this resolves, we can play the other infect creature. Actually, do we have enough? Yeah. So we actually have to. Yeah, so we're going to Might of Old Krosa. Okay. Yeah. Alright, that makes it even easier, because now we just give pro red. We can give pro black too. I like pro black a little more. I don't think I put too much red. It can't beat a target of spells or abilities, right? Target creature. I hope I'm not missing something. Okay, I'm not. I know, because it's dealing damage to itself, but it is preventing the targeting. So that's good. Protection from black. Might of Old Krosa. I don't know if I made my land drop this turn, but we got the combo. 3-card combo actually here, but you know, any infect creature will do. Alrighty. No, I want to see if I made my land drop there, because Might of Old Krosa might have been key to us winning this, as opposed to Groundswell. So my turn. Sorry, 1 second. My turn. Cast Scale Up. Yeah. It was my turn. I thought for a while. So they played, Verdant Catacombs, activated Troll King, then it was my turn. Yeah. Then I thought for a while, I cast Scale Up. They did stuff. I ended up casting Apostle's Blessing, chose black, cast Might of Old Krosa. Yep, okay. Yeah, so actually, I feel good about playing Might of Old Krosa there because Groundswell wouldn't have done it. Okay. Alright, good stuff. Alright, match 2. Let's see what we got here. Alright, do we have an infect creature? We do not. So I think we have to mulligan. Well. Yeah, sure thing. It's similar to the last one I tweeted, but I actually just ditched the Mambas and added scale up and swapped the Mutagenics for Might of Old Krosa. Infect doesn't need more than 12 creatures for Glistener plus 4 Inkmoth plus 4 what's it called, plus 4 Scrying to find Inkmoth, and scale up plus Might just won me a game against that green-black cookbook nonsense. Alright, let's keep, and I will ditch a forest. Alright, let's see here. I think we play a Cathedral. Cool. Alrighty. Cool stuff. Yeah, alright. Let's see here. I'm going to play Pendelhaven. Oh. Let's see here. Alrighty. Let's see. I mean, this is honestly like the mono green style Infect I've always played. Alright, well, I've got the Inkmoth still. Since they might have Vindicate, I'm not going to put Jegantha to hand. This is a conscious decision. Don't Vindicate me, bro. Or sis. Or whatever. Discard, damn. Okay, let's see. Alright, sorry, 1 second. Second, excuse me. Alright, let's see here. Yeah, so I think I can just, so what did they get? Caldera. I mean, people are experimenting with this. So, I actually, oh wait a minute, so okay, they are just ending their turn, okay. So, people are experimenting. They missed their third land drop. I am going to take this opportunity to try to push damage, and you know, this could be a mistake. They could Vindicate me, bro. This definitely looks like the type of deck that could play Vindicate, but in my opinion, you gotta push damage when you can. And if they didn't miss their third land drop, I wouldn't have done that. But okay, hopefully they got Vindicate, but I hope they don't have Vindicate. But if they do have Vindicate, hopefully they're kicking themselves. But thank goodness it doesn't flying. Alrighty. Let's see. Okay, and I think this is GG. Because, okay, boom. Let's see, 5, 6, 7, yeah. I needed all of these cards, but I think I got it. And bam, 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 bam. Nice. Alright, got that one. I kind of want Wilt. And I kind of want Spatial Contortion. What I'm worried about, actually, more than anything, is Plague Engineer, because I gotta respect that card. That card just actually shuts down the entire deck, sans Jegantha, and even Jegantha, it can trade with it. But at least if it trades with it, hopefully it unlocks your Infect creatures. But if there's multiple, Plague Engineers, it actually kind of shuts down Jegantha too. That's kind of a problem. I mean, you can kind of try to like futz around with Apostle's Blessings and Sejiri Steppe, and you never know. You can probably win a randomly sometimes the jankiest of janky janks, and already Jegantha is pretty jank to begin with. But yeah, at the end of the day, I do think I need to respect, and this is a pump spell too. Remember, don't forget that. Don't forget that now. Yeah, we'll take out Might of Old Krosa. Alex scale up. I think that's a little too hard to pass up on. But yeah, I think this. Now, do we need Sejiri Steppe? I think Sejiri Steppe is good. And Gasping Dunes, did it play anything that we need to hit? I don't think so. Yeah, so I think this is it. Alrighty. Alrighty, so, hey, this has Infect creatures, and knock on wood, maybe we can sport our... Oh, actually, what was this? Yeah, I won the previous game. I'm going to call that previous match Black-Green. I'm not going to call it Madness, I'm going to call it Black-Green Cookbook. Yeah, I'm calling it Black-Green Cookbook, and this is Black-White Stoneblade, I guess. Alright, let's see. Black-White, yeah, Green-Red Cookbook. Alright, it's always good to lead on Pendelhaven. I may have explained that before, but yeah. Already. Alright, well that's fine because I've got where that came from. Now this time I think I have to protect Glissy a little bit. I'll call him / her. It's actually not clear what gender identity Glistener Elf is. But yeah, we'll respect Glistener Elf's pronouns. Ooh, that's actually kind of a problem. Alright. Let's see here. Yeah. It makes me wish I would have played out this, but I was trying to protect it from spot removal. Need to play Hierarch to hopefully tag the Liliana. And I think I gotta ditch a scale up. I don't think these are necessarily gonna be that great. Can't play around everything. If I would have played 2 creatures, I would have played around the Liliana, but I wouldn't have played around spot removal, so it is what it is. That's the one reason I like Inkmoth so much. Inkmoth is essentially immune to Liliana. Yeah, I like Infect actually as the as my mono green deck of choice, or mostly green deck. I mean, I'm on mono green right now. I have played blue green before, just like sometimes I've played blue green Merfolk or blue white Merfolk or whatever. Sometimes I've played blue. I've actually played blue black Infect too at times, but I think I think making your deck monocolor is highly underrated, and a lot of times I do come back to it. Alrighty. Bitter Blossom's kind of mean. Well, here's what we need to do. It's kind of unfortunate, but we have to scale up just to get the Lily off the board. And now we've got to deal with the bitter tokens. But maybe we can push a lot of damage in large chunks if we put Jegantha to hand and work it that way. I don't know why they need to overload. Oh, I guess they want to play around spot removal. I mean, spot protection. Alright, well, it's Inkmoth time. And we might actually have a shot to maybe keep pushing damage until we win. Inkmoth is I'm telling you, Inkmoth is hands down the best Infect creature, and in fact, it's even better than Bladed Agent. Let's see here. So I got our scale up, but scale up can only push 7 max. But still, okay, that's good for them. So, and the problem with pushing here is that even if I bring them to 7, the next one's not going to do it, because I can only push 2. So here's what I'm going to do. Until further notice, I'm going to keep holding up Apostle's Blessing. I'm going to keep, because what I have to do is I have to keep them at 1 token, because if they ever start getting more than 1 token, then they'll be able to block both my creatures. I don't know, I'm going to actually hope they have no removal. Playing around Bitter Blossom is kind of difficult, but the way you do it is you have to go wide. This might be another dam. But at least we still have the Inkmoth, so, or maybe Vindicate. Yeah, it was Vindicate. Well, actually, we don't necessarily need the flying. Yeah, we don't necessarily need the flying, actually. We just have to keep them pinned on one of these. I'm going Jegantha, because it's just, you just never know. This might actually be important. I mean, they are losing 1 life each turn. Yeah, they can regain some life. That's not a bad thing. Alright, Cathedral of War, that is good. In fact, that is good enough that maybe I start trying to push and never looking back. Yep, gotta go for it. So first let's start off by giving it Pro Black. Yeah, then let's pump, then let's scale up. Hopefully they don't have Path. Okay, they don't have Path. Okay, and then hopefully we can just push the rest. If they don't have another removal spell, we can only hope. Okay, but that creates a black germ token, so I think that's GG. Unless I'm mistaken about something. Deals combat damage to a creature exiled, but I don't see how it's going to deal combat damage to my creature. Okay. Alrighty, I guess that's GG's. Alright. Alrighty. Alright, game 3, and looks like we're playing against Saffron Olive. But unfortunately, this is not a hand we can keep. So, yep. I don't think we can keep this hand either, because it just has no mana. Alright, this hand is not great, but it is keepable. And I think we can keep 1 scaled up. I might just lead on the exalted creatures. Blazing Root Ball. Okay, so it's the Madness deck. At least, although they got us off our 1 Infect creature, we've got that which they giveth, they taketh away, they giveth. However that goes. Definitely don't need 2 scale ups, but maybe we can win over 2 turns. I don't necessarily think we're on a 3-turn clock, although we might be. It's because this is actually 7 damage. If they pump, which they didn't. More Rewalas. We might even be able to set up a kill with Inkmoth. Let's see how that goes. We can use this to play Apostle's Blessings white too. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 more pump spell, and actually, it doesn't even have to be Might of Old Krosa. Any more pump spell, even Cathedral of War, and we are threatening lethal next turn. So that's 6, 10. They got 10 damage coming our way just with this. And they got more. Ooh, bartered cows. Hopefully they can't gain too much life. Actually, what am I kidding? We don't care about life. I'm so used to playing burn. or red decks. Okay, this card, the Underworld Cookbook. I call this creature the Underworld Cookbook, or cookbook nonsense, and the Underworld Cookbook is obviously the Underworld Cookbook. Yeah, I'm not gonna chump. Okay. Let's see if we have lethal. We do. Nice. All these exalted triggers. They all add up to lethal. Oh, wait a minute, the food. Oh, well, at least I can protect it. Yeah, at least I can protect... Oh, they... yeah, you see, the problem here is I forgot that they got food. Deals 6 damage to itself. I will gladly protect it this turn if they want to sacrifice the food. That'll be worth activating and scaling up just to put them down 2 foods. Yeah. So this makes things a little trickier, but maybe we can still chump block and... No, I don't think. Yeah, even if we chump block, it's still... Yeah, there was kind of no getting around this. Their hand was a little too nutty. I don't think it would have made a difference if we didn't activate, though. At the end of the day, yeah. Alright, so... I don't know that we actually need to bring anything in. The worst thing they could do is, the worst thing they could do is play... Mages of the Moon, probably, which would also shut off our ability to answer it from Spatial Contortion. I am aware that that is a problem. I just conceptually really like that this is also a pump spell. The problem is it's a pump spell that doesn't answer Hollow One. Not that Hollow One needs to be answered. They have just as much a chance of playing actual Blood Moon as Mages of the Moon. I don't know. I don't know. If they've got Mages of the Moon or Blood Moon, there's a pretty good chance they just got me. But even so, we at least have the, unlike Plague Engineer, we actually do have the, we do have Glistener Elf itself as an out. Alrighty. We'll keep. I like beating on Glistener Elf for a lot of reasons, so I think I will. The fundamental logic is just that as the game goes on, it's harder and harder. I mean, like, yeah, it's harder and harder for Glistener Elf to really do much. So your best chance of having it do good work is right in the beginning. Lightning Bolt. Oh, Lightning Axe, okay. And a Rootwalla cometh out. I think I'm going to play, yeah, these two. Alrighty, and let's see. More lightning axes? Okay. Benjamin. I mean, well, this is a fairly quick clock, but man, it's mostly this card's cooking ability that is of main concern to me. Okay, let's yeah, I could try to put Jegantha to hand, but I don't see that 4th, 7, 10. Another Benjamin could be a problem. I don't really see Jegantha coming into play much as a factor in the outcome here. Although then again, it could have. I mean, it definitely could stall the game. Actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, that was probably a mistake not to play Jegantha. I have a little too much of a tunnel vision here for. All right. Okay, so they dealt me 10 damage. They have double lightning bolt. Alright, there's one cookbook. Yeah, one cookbook is okay. 2 cookbooks is kind of a problem. Okay, let's see if we draw. Somehow we didn't draw any of our pump spells. I think basically any pump spell would have done it. Now the problem is, yeah, they can just burn the Jegantha away with the this card. Maybe we do need GG's. I don't know, is there like a way we can stall one more turn? There might be. Because let's think about this rationally. We're definitely going to play this. We may have to chump with 1 to this, but then we actually chump with 2. Yeah, even scale up. Yeah, even scale up is not gonna. All right, well, GG's. Maybe we should have played Jegantha. All right, match 4. Let's see. Hey, we got infect creatures. Can't complain too much. Man, we were pretty close against those. Oh man, I think Tron is like just a buy. That's a good feeling. We got the turn 2 win if they don't do anything. I don't see why they would do anything. Tron tries to Tron out on turn 3. We just win on turn 2. Yep, you do your thing. On our turn, we're going to Knight of Old Krosa and scale up. Alright, we just have to remember to scale up first. Bam. Yep, I think Tron is pretty easy in this matchup. Yeah, definitely. I think we're one of Tron's worst matchups because well, how do you beat a turn 3 Tron? Well, win on turn 2, right? Okay, let's see. I mean, Infect can win on turn 2, but Tron is one of the few decks that really doesn't play much removal. They're probably going to bring in their own Spatial Contortions and stuff. Ghost Quarter can be good at breaking up Tron. I don't think we need to actually change anything. Although I'm a little worried about Karn bringing in a Snaring Bridge, but our creatures are so little that it's going to be pretty hard for them to empty their entire hand. Prevent our creatures from sneaking across. And also, if it really comes down to it, we could try to sneak. No, it's probably not going to, but we could try to sneak Exalted Trigger attacking Hierarch thingies. Wilt. I honestly don't know. I don't know how we would sideboard. Alright. Alright, well, we don't have a turn 2 or even turn 3 kill most likely, but here's the thing. We, Inkmoth Nexus is a little more immune to your average to your average piece of Tron hate. I mean, sure, they can hit it with Karn, and the problem is we can't use Apostle's Blessing to save it, but you can use Become Blossoming Defense. Alrighty, and we will. Yeah, we gotta play for the possibility. Now they might play Karn Liberated. Karn the Great Creator isn't that big of a deal. Okay. Because this is not an artifact when we attempt to activate it. Yeah, actually, yeah, Pithing Needle, that could be a little bit of a problem. So maybe we need to bring in a Wilt of our own just to deal with this, and then maybe we can just continue to go nuts. Yeah, I guess that's GG. Man, that G-Tron. I feel like I should not have to drop a game against Tron, but, you know, so it goes sometimes. So, maybe Wilt. Maybe Wilt isn't necessary. Yeah, actually, what I've been thinking, like, what does Apostle's Blessing even do? It doesn't save us from Spatial Contortion. It saves us from Dismember, if that's what they're on. But, yeah, what am I thinking? I don't need Apostle's Blessing in this matchup. Could have just, those Apostle's Blessings should have been Wilts. I did forget about Pithing Needle, though, actually. That's okay. Wilt is we should probably bring Wilt in more aggressively. Oh, okay. I like this. This is a turn 2 kill if we draw another forest. So it could be Dismember or Bust for them. Having to mold to turn 3 Tron and having Dismember in their hand seems a little rough. Yeah, I just need one more untapped green source, and then it's turn 2 win time. Alright, that's not Dismember. Yep, okay, turn 2 win. Let's go bam. Let's go bam. Yes. Let's go bam. Yep, alright. Hey, we won on turn 2, 2 games in a row against Tron. Well, actually, we won, lost, and won. Alright, that works for me. Alright. Match 5. Let's see. Yep, I think this hand is a good one. Let's see here. Alrighty. Alrighty. Oh. That could be rough. I'm gonna play main deck Cleansing Wildfire or anything. Although I still may want to defend my Ignoble Hierarchs. Yeah, I don't see the Jegantha really mattering. Okay. Well, we're pretty close. I mean, we just need a Might of Old Krosa, and then we've got the turn 3 win. If we don't, though, then they might have the turn 3 win. I could have actually tried the Blossoming Defense and block. That might have been better. Yeah, that was a lot. That would have been a lot better because I could easily die here now. I should have blocked and tried the Blossoming Defense. You have to hope their hand's a little clunky. Thank goodness we're on the play. Turn 3 wins aren't always possible, but with this, with 2 Swiftspears, I'm really regretting not yeah, probably. Alright, I'll turn 3 kill. Might have been able to prevent this if I had blocked with the Hierarch. So I can be at 14, these can both play 3s. I don't know if they play any sorceries or not, though. Valerium isn't really their graveyard. These would probably play Firebolt just for... Oh, okay, well I guess that's how they get a sorcery in the graveyard. But if they flash this back, though, then they need another instant. Which I'm sure they have. Okay. I would have been able to take an entire Swiftspear out of the equation if I would have blocked. So let's see, they Lightning Bolt, and that alone is basically lethal. Yeah, that Lightning Bolt alone is lethal. But without the Swiftspear, maybe not. Lava Dart, don't Lava Dart me, bro. Oh, man. This is unthinkable. Even despite my misplay, I might actually win this. Yeah, okay, so here's the dealio. Yeah, and we've got like so much protection here. Yeah, we do this. Using green. Yeah, we do Blossoming Defense. Alright. And obviously if they had another one, you'd think they would have just done that when they attacked. Okay. Oof, that was a close one. Alright, visit Furnace. 1-0. Alrighty. I really hope they don't have Blood Moon, because that's going to be the biggest problem. Could play Spatial Contortion to slow them down a bit, but they don't always have insane starts like that. But we don't always have insane starts either. With Sprite Dragon, they definitely have the most scary openers. I don't know if we necessarily need Blossoming Defense, though, because we're not... I don't know if we need Apostle's Blessing either. Yeah, Apostle's Blessing can also be kind of awkward because it can get shut off. Yeah, so as opposed to Apostle Blessing, Spatial Contortion. Grasping Dunes. I don't think Grasping Dunes is necessary. Yeah, just a little bit of removal. And again, remember, Spatial Contortion is also a pump spell, so sometimes you can use it that way. And actually, in this hand, it's going to be Spatial Contortion is going to be essential. Okay, they've got the yeah, so let's... I should have let him Inkmoth. Alright, so I guess they must have drawn that land, otherwise I would have sequenced differently. Well, let's Spatial Contort this one. That card is also kind of problematic, so it's nice to get that off the table. Oh yeah, would have taken way more damage. Let's see. Show us what you got. Okay. Well, they are shipping our life total down. This is all not pleasant for us. If we can survive one more turn, though, we may have a chance. I don't think we crash in. I guess we could if we hold up a mana. I'm not sure what that does, though, because honestly, this is just GG anyway. Yeah, let's just hold up a blocker or something. I don't know. We've got the Scale Up Might of Old Krosa combo. Will it be enough? Probably not. But if they give us more time... Actually, maybe we should have chipped in, because if they tap out... I don't know. We could only chipped in for one, so I don't even know if that would have made a difference. Kind of camouflage our strength of our hand a little bit by playing the Inkmoth instead of double green. Double green makes them think much more closer to lethal. Yeah, please tap out. Okay, well, don't tap out if that means killing me. Alright. I don't think this is quite lethal yet, because that's 6. And, well, unless they got another one, which they might. Oh, okay. Yeah, they got lethal. Yeah, I think I like this sideboard strategy. Okie dokie. Let's be on the clay. Yeah, Spatial Contortion ain't bad. The only problem is I don't have any Infect creatures, so I have to mill this. It's not the most reliable Infect creature. Well, actually, yeah, okay, I got the Inkmoth. Never mind. Perfect. I don't think I need both Pendelhavens, so that's a pretty easy decision there. This will probably just eat a Lava Dart. So there was some concession to maybe... But, like, if they use their turn one playing Lava Dart, it's going to slow them down a lot. So at least there's that. Okay. Okie dokie. Yeah, let's play this. Let's play this. And, you know, they can kill this, but thankfully the Inkmoth Nexus is immune from sorcery speed removal, and we have more control over when we can protect it. Okay. Oh, maximum bubble. The problem I find with bubble is that sometimes you can get kind of mana screwed, or mana flooded, I mean. Yep. So I get to see my next card. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, let's just crack in here with. Yeah, we can protect it. Yeah, with Might of Old Krosa because it exalted triggers, which is nice. Okay. I think they gotta start leaving up mana, which is good. And I can keep cracking in there. Oh no, that's not good. Okay, well, that's a little bit of an issue. Oh, that. This helps. It's not like... Yeah, I think what we need to do, though, is we need to put Jegantha to hand, and we need to play Glistener Elf. Because I think Glistener Elf is both a little too vulnerable and... yeah, and like I just don't have the kind of pump in my hand to really protect it. So Lightning Bolt would do it. Okay. Why do they have so many cards in their hand? Hopefully this Pendelhaven is doing work. Jegantha might make a difference this game. They know we've got, yeah, Spatial Contortion, so they just might not be interested in this. Okay. I think this might be GG. Pro Red. What's your move? Now, they might have Vapor Snag, it's worth noting. But if they do, then it is what it is. Okay. So, do I just Might of Old Krosa? But then... No, yeah, I guess I just Might of Old Krosa. Let's see what happens. Oh, but they can still kill the Ignoble Hierarch. I messed up. Oh no. Oh. Hopefully they crack the fetch or something. Oh yeah, they have to crack the fetch, but they don't have to crack the fetch now. Oh, thank goodness. Let's do this now. Oh. So I don't know, maybe they got Vapor Snag, then it is what it is, but oh, thank goodness they cracked the fetch line, because what they could have done is they could have killed the Noble Hierarch before the Exalted triggers. Yes. But by me Pendelhavening, I prevented that victory option, yes, and the overkill. Okay. Alright, that was a clutch Sejiri Steppe off the top. Nice. 4-1. Hey, we'll take it. I don't know if I'm ready for a 5-0 with this much jank, but I'll take a 4-1. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. If you like this content, yeah, like and subscribe. Yeah, I'll get to all that. Okay, post-league wrap up. Let's discuss. So I think this was a pretty good showing. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I'll take a 4-1. I can't necessarily expect to consistently trophy with a deck that hasn't been on the radar for like a million years. It took me a little while to find a build that actually seemed competitive, because I did get 4-1 with another build, but honestly, like, that was kind of, a lot of those games are just super close, and yeah, so I just decided to reach, like I said, in the deck tech for the Might of Old Krosa scale up duo, and as we saw against the Tron matchup, just in some matchups that's just it. They just can't deal with that. Yeah, I mean, we beat the cookbook deck. Like I said, generally that's been my experience, is generally our combo kind of beats theirs. They can beat us because obviously one of the main problems is the cookbook maker creature card, Abacadabra. I don't know how you pronounce that name. You know, that can sack two foods and deal 6 damage to one of your creatures effectively. That's probably the biggest tricky part, but I don't know. Other than that, on a conceptual level, I don't think the Black-Green Cookbook deck is too much of an issue. Stoneblade, you know, like, sometimes we can catch him off guard. That's an interesting matchup, though, that kind of has a back and forth to it. Is it prowess? I'm a little bit surprised we won this, but, I mean, I think the tech of bringing in the Spatial Contortions helps. Any speed bump, because, like, I think as the late game goes on, if we've got Inkmoth Nexus, eventually we can set up a turn where we can, I think, overload their removal a lot of times. Yeah, I mean, my hunch is that Is It Prowess is a bad matchup, but yeah, I can see it. I can see us also winning that too. The only matchup we and of course I already discussed Tron. The only matchup we lost was Red Madness and against Saffron Olive. So, you know, congrats Saffron Olive. You deprived me of trophy number 5. That's okay. Yeah, I mean, that deck, I don't know. It's weird. I mean, it felt like Saffron always had those Blazing Root Wallas, and like lots of them. Maybe that's just how the deck always rolls. I've played this deck before, and it hasn't always necessarily belched out so many creatures so quickly, and Hollow One too. I've never seen it produce Hollow One so consistently. Usually, I've seen that discarded a lot. There's probably some randomness to it, but yeah, like if this deck is firing on all cylinders, you know, it's just a little hard, because the thing is, if we had more turns, we could have played around the cookbook maker cards, you know, sacrifice food abilities. Like, I think we even did that in the Black-Green cookbook deck. Like, but just, you know, when we're just under so much pressure so quickly, we're just forced into situations where it's kind of hard for us to set up a turn when we play around that. So, yeah, I mean, that was unfortunate. But anyway, I don't know what else to say other than that. I was impressed. I liked the way the deck ran. I'm still probably going to be on the Might of Old Krosa scale up cards as my pump spells.
I don't see myself ever cutting Blossoming Defense, Vines of Vastwood, so forth and so forth. So basically, I feel like most of the deck is kind of set in stone now. In the old days, the Ignoble Hierarch slot used to be a little tricky, but now that we've got another effective Noble Hierarch, I think like this slot's probably a lock. So that leaves the flex slots, in my opinion, mostly scale up and Might of Old Krosa, at least in this build. And I do like the Cathedral of Wars, but I'm not gonna lie, I did tinker around a few matches without the Cathedral of Wars and just playing more pump spells. I don't know, I like the Cathedrals. It just ups your land count. It helps you, reach a critical mass of mana and, land drops and whatnot, so you can set up a big Inkmoth Nexus turn while also providing a pump effect, and I like it, but you can probably cut it too, and I can't guarantee that this is 100% better. But I like it. I like it, and it always felt better to me, so I'm on Cathedrals. I don't know that they're a lock per se, but probably the cards that are the least lock are Scale Up and Might of Old Krosa in this build. So, with that, I don't know what else to say other than that. I liked how it performed, and if you like this content, like and subscribe. Click the bell icon for notifications, and I also forgot to briefly mention, but yeah, in some of our previous versions we played another infect creature like Necropede or Ichor or something, but I don't know. There might be times where we reach for one, but I felt fairly satisfied. This was actually, I think, the first league I experimented with cutting the 12th infect creature that isn't Sylvan Scrying in order to find Inkmoth Nexus. So this is the first time I'm basically only playing 8 infect creatures and 4 ways to find infect creatures, and it worked out just fine in my opinion. I was a little worried, but there's a reason why blue-green infect can get away with just playing 12 infect creatures. It's fine. It's kind of like sometimes you can get away with. It's like with Merfolk when we're on 12 islands for 4 castles and 4 Mutavaults. More often than not, we usually see an island in our opening hand. So more often than not, we usually see a infect creature in our hand. Same principle. Sometimes we don't, but usually after a mulligan or 2, we almost always see one. So I don't know what else to say other than that. I think 12 is fine. And those other infect creatures, they just really leave a lot to be desired. I played Blight Mamba in one of our previous ones, but Blight Mamba actually has one advantage that Blighted Agent doesn't. The regeneration can come in handy against some control decks, but it's just so expensive to regenerate. That's the biggest problem. Even in a deck that has so much mana like this, a lot of times, like you could play it on defense sometimes with the regeneration, but then oftentimes they were still so far ahead that you were kind of still more banking on just going for your own Alpha Strike next turn anyway. I actually kind of feel like the best option you may actually have out of Ichor Mirror, which is a 2-mana artifact creature, 1/1 infect. It gets +2/+2 whenever it's blocked. That card is okay. I don't actually like that card the most. The problem is that you don't want them blocking, so usually if they're blocking, things are kind of going wrong anyway, in my opinion. I mean, sometimes that can be good, but I don't know. And of course Blight Mamba is 2 mana for a 1/1 infect. It's a green creature, and you can pay 2 and regenerate it. But I actually think the most underrated card might be Necromoeba, which is let's see, Necromoeba. This was actually, I think, probably my longest-standing choice for another infect creature. I mean, ultimately it's a 2 mana for a 1/1 infect creature, but what I liked about it is that you could play it out in the face of a Dark Confidant or a Delver if it didn't flip, or a lot of stuff, and it just kind of made things complicated for them. Unlike Blighted Agent, which they could just kill on sight without 2-for-1ing themselves, sometimes you could drop this on the board and then threaten to either go nuts the next turn if they didn't deal with it, or 2-for-1 them if they did deal with it. The problem, of course, was that a lot of times they still would. I mean, they would 2-for-1 themselves, and a lot of times they could still come back and win, just because ultimately you don't win necessarily by 2-for-1ing them in this deck. You win by just pushing through infect damage. Still, out of all the cards, this card probably impressed me the most in the long run. Although Blight Mamba did impress me that one league that I did get a 4/1 with it, but yeah, I just like the way Necropede, not Necromoeba, Necropede, can 2-for-1 your opponent. So I don't know what else to say. 2-for-1 or shrink one of their creatures, or in the case of
or in the case of Dreadhorde Arcanist, if it's a 1/3 trample, I mean it's a one power creature with trample, I know, but yeah, basically, and it allows you to cast instants or sorceries out of your graveyard that cost is less than or equal to its power, and basically if you put a -1/-1 counter on a Dreadhorde Arcanist, then effectively that ability is shut off because they can only play 0-drop cards. Although they do have some 0-drop cards, so like nowadays Ancestral Vision and Crashing Footfalls and all that jazz. Anyway, so obviously though, this I think was a success as far as experimenting whether or not we needed to reach for more Infect creatures. I think that was I always wanted to try these two cards, but I couldn't quite fit both of them in. I think they kind of need each other. So far I've liked them. We'll see if we keep sticking on them, but hey, they're quite the combo when they do work together. And sometimes they're just a lot of Infect damage alone and they can get the job done. Anyway, if you like this content, like, subscribe, hit that bell icon for notifications, and leave a comment, all that good stuff. And see you guys next time. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Alright.